Our hymn of the day is Blessed Assurance, Jesus is Mine. Music by Phoebe Knapp and words by Fanny Crosby. Fanny Crosby wrote the lyrics, one of her more than 8,000 poems. She was born in 1820, about 50 miles north of New York City, in the village of Brewster, the only child of John and Mercy Crosby, who were relatives of the famed Revolutionary War spy Enoch Crosby. Her ancestors, in fact, arrived in Boston in 1635, making her a member of the Daughters of the Mayflower and the Daughters of the American Revolution. A later relative we know turns out to be Bing Crosby. At 6 months, she developed an eye infection, and the malpractice of a local quack left her blind for life. At the age of 8, she began writing verses, and at 15, she entered the New York City School for the Blind. She began writing words for secular songs, and she earned significant royalties, particularly for her very popular song, Rosalie the Prairie Flower. After graduating, she stayed on at the school and taught there for over 10 years. She was a strong advocate for the blind, being the first woman ever to speak in the United States Senate and appeared before joint houses of Congress where she recited these lines. O ye who here from every state convene, illustrious band, may we not hope the scene you now behold will prove to every mind instruction hath a ray to cheer the blind. She actually sang her own compositions, accompanying herself on the piano in the music room of the White House for President Polk. Fanny was an ecumenical Christian, attending many different denominations. Plymouth Church of the Pilgrims in Brooklyn Heights, led by the famed Congregationalist abolitionist Henry Ward Beecher. Trinity Episcopal Church, a Dutch Reformed Church, and Central Presbyterian Church, later known as the Brooklyn Tabernacle. But she proudly proclaimed that she was a member in good standing always at John Street Methodist Episcopal Church in Manhattan. When she was 40, composer William Bradbury, whom we know for He Leadeth Me, Just As I Am, Sweet Hour of Prayer, Savior Like a Shepherd Lead Us, My Hope is Built on Nothing Less, Bradbury convinced her to write her first hymn. She saw him writing then as God's call, and she was active until she was over 90 years, dying at the age of 95. Her tombstone carries the words of probably her most famous hymn, Blessed Assurance, Jesus is Mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine.
I will tell you this. People get their theology as much from hymns as they do from sermons. Martin Luther realized this.
Phoebe Palmer Knapp, our composer, was born in 1839 in New York City. She was the daughter of Methodist evangelist Walter C. Palmer and Phoebe Worrell Palmer, an eminent religious author and teacher. At 16, she married Joseph Fairchild Knapp, a dedicated Sunday school worker and one of the founders and second president of the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. They belonged to the St. John Street Methodist Episcopal Church in New York City, as did Phoebe's close friend, Fanny Crosby. 7 years after her husband's death, she moved into her elegant suite of apartments in the Fifth Avenue Savoy Hotel, where she had what was reputed to be the largest organ in the world in a private home, a 3-manual, 24-rank tracker built by George Jardine and Son. She composed over 500 gospel songs, with 100 appearing in her first book, the 1869 Notes of Joy. Blessed Assurance appeared in her 1873 Guide to Holiness and Revival Mythology. Phoebe Palmer Knapp died in 1908 at 69 in the Poland Springs Mansion House in Maine. She is buried in Greenwood Cemetery with her husband, Joseph. She had composed our tune and went to share it with Fanny Crosby. Fanny writes, quote, "My friend Mrs. Knapp composed a melody and played it over for me 2 or 3 times on the piano. She then asked me what it said, and I immediately replied, 'Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine.'"